Vigilantes. We're about to get down. The most badass technology on Web3. Cryptoid, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing all right. How's it going?
Doing great, doing great.
I see Eric Jordan's here. That's cool. What's up, Eric?
Nice. See, I knew Asylum was going to show, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity and book 2 dates for this conference, for this conversation, because we're going to go long, guys. People are going to keep coming into this vibe, and yeah, happy to see Asylum.
Yeah, it looks like Waldo joined too. He might be talking too. So
awesome. You know, and the cool thing is that what I want is to get this. For this to be the beginning of an ongoing conversation, a conversation that's going to ramp up over time, where I foresee a future that I'm already seeing in a lot of transparent protocols where people are talking and building. They're talking with each other, because that's how fast this is going to ramp up. So it's going to happen, guys. It's going to happen actually before we can ever even expect it. Sooner or later, like, we're going to be talking about ideas of how to take Dero to the next level, and people are going to be pushing out protocols in real time. So this is only the beginning, guys. This is not like we're going to have a conversation and it's going to be over after the conversation is done. No, we're having a conversation that's going to kick off like a whole new internet. So I'm really happy everyone is here. Asylum, thank you for being with us today.
No problem. Wasn't supposed to be, but here I am.
he's a supportive guy.
Right on, guys. So let's get started then. What is Dero? Why does it matter?
I think most of the people on the call already know that, but obviously Dero's a private L1 private smart contracts and services platform. Uses homomorphic encryption to encrypt balances. Has basically instant settlements. There's some people that want to argue that it's not instant because you can wait for confirmations, but with an account-based model that it uses, it's not a UTXO. So with the account model that it uses, coins are debited from the sender immediately and given to the receiver. So it's basically it's instant settlement, if you ask me. But I understand why people would want to wait for confirmations just in case there's some sort of chain attack or something. But yeah, Dero's basically a super fast, super private smart contracts and services platform. That's the way I like to.
Give us a one-on-one on Dero, guys. There's a lot of people that are going to be listening to this recording and jumping on, and they have no idea what you just said, what you're talking about. What's going on here?
I'm trying to digest what you're saying here. Do you want me to explain it in different terms, or?
Yeah. Like, there's people that have never, ever heard of Dero. They have no idea what you're talking about. It's only a $35 million market cap. Last time I checked, it's a very small network, brand new technology. So let's get into it. What makes Dero special? What is it? What is it about his technology? What is it about his network architecture?
So yeah, actually, so just touching on that, I mean, if you want to get down to it, the project's been around for 5 years, but the special part of the technology is what has come out recently with Stargate, right? So Dero recently moved to a new protocol that uses homomorphic encryption. Now, to explain that, what homomorphic encryption is it is when you calculate on data that is already encrypted, so you don't have to decrypt it first. So let's say one user has their balance, it's completely encrypted, and the other user has another balance that's completely encrypted. The network actually does math and can count on those encrypted balances and give an answer to the totals without knowing either person's balance. So what you get with technology like that is you basically get a way that you can confirm and verify, but it doesn't have to be public on the ledger. So you have a different level, a higher level of encryption and security as far as that goes. When I say UTXO, what I'm talking about is like chains like Bitcoin or Monero. When you send a transaction, you're sending coins. With Monero, they get mixed up a bit, and then the change comes back to your balance. the chain will confirm for a while and then say, okay, yeah, this is settled. With an account-based model, you don't really have that. What you have is one balance being deducted from and the other one being added to immediately. So you don't have some of the same hangups with UTXO, like confirmation time. So Dero has 19-second blocks. They're actually mini blocks. Those 19-second blocks, the transactions that happen in those, when the transaction is complete and that block is done, the transaction's done. You don't need to wait for confirmations for the rest of the network to say, okay, these coins move this direction, etc. So that's what I say when I say, there's instant finality. There's finality on the network, like instantly. You have settlement immediately. Let's see. And then as far as smart contracts, I mean, you know what Ethereum is, then you know what smart contracts are, right? So, so you have all that layer 1 privacy, and then you also have smart contracts. So you have a platform that is layer 1 private. It can execute these smart contracts in a transparent way, but because of the layer 1 privacy, you still retain your privacy, but you can still have transparency to audit and to and not just audit, but for people to verify what's going on, right? So if you have, let's say, smart contracts and you can't see what's going on with the smart contracts because they're in some sort of black box, well, that's not really helpful because anything can be going on inside that black box. When you have transparency on that level, then when you have transparency on that level, the layer 1 privacy is really what matters anyway, right? So if you have layer technologies that are hiding what they're doing and scrambling stuff around it, it really doesn't matter when layer 1 is still transparent, right? So layer 1 is the most important layer to actually have privacy on. I kind of like to say, layer 2 privacy is kind of like having a fish tank, and like half of it, like the top half is just covered. So you don't know what's going on there, but as soon as those fish come out back down to layer 1, you can still see their activity and what they're doing and who they are and their balances, right? So layer 2 privacy really isn't that useful at the end of the day. So Dero is a layer 1 private smart contract platform primarily. It also has the ability to run services. And services are pretty cool because you can actually program them in any language. And it basically turns your wallet and the transactions between you and the users of the service, it uses Dero as that encryption layer. So you get the privacy that you need for an application without the need for like something like Tor even. You could create services that are completely private, but still just not even, it's not the network that's private, it's the block, right? It's like a membrane of privacy that you can communicate through. It's really kind of hard to wrap your head around. I understand that, but and there's so much to it too. So that's why I'm stumbling on my words because I'm trying to think of everything I can think of to explain. So,
the thing is that like what a lot of people don't understand about Dero is that's a project that's over like 5 years. But you guys have been on a testnet, right? For like 4 years, you guys were on testnet. So the inner Dero community like understands this like very well. Give us a little story behind Dero. What's the history of Dero?
All right. So it's actually been mainnet for those 5 years. So what happened? How Dero started? It was CryptoNote. It was let's see, Monero Helium Hydra. The regular C language version of that. What the devs did is they rewrote the CryptoNote protocol in Golang after that. After they did that, they built smart contracts on top of CryptoNote, but some issues. CryptoNote's not really good for smart contracts. So that went to testnet. That never saw the light of day. And then we had some fun waiting and playing with the new DHEBP, which is it's a mouthful. It's a Dero homomorphic encryption blockchain protocol. But basically, that's just what Stargate is now. So that's what I was just explaining. So because of the limitations of CryptoNote and it not really lending itself to smart contracts, that's how the devs, from what it looks like the devs always had a plan to move to a better encryption technology. But when it came to smart contracts, they never went live on CryptoNote for 2 reasons. And basically because they were moving to homomorphic encryption and also because CryptoNote was not great at handling the large volumes of transactions that are required for that. So yeah, it seemed like it was testnet for a long time, but really it's been an experimental blockchain. So that's kind of why it seemed like it was in testing when really it was mainnet the whole time.
Nice. Right on, man. Right on. A lot of Dero enthusiasts in the audience. This is okay. So the upcoming questions that I have revolve the nature of privacy within the realm of creating a smart contract protocol. Well, it's already been created. There's a real funny paradox here that we're dealing with, right? You guys are creating a competitor to Ethereum, a competitor to BSV, a competitor to all these transparent protocols that provide you with smart contracting languages, scripting protocols. But at the same time, this is a private by default network. So when you're competing in the world, we live in a world that unfortunately doesn't care about privacy as much as it should. And we find ourselves, all these other protocols, Polygon, you name it, all of these protocols, they're competing for attention first and foremost. The attention market is extremely strong. And right now people are talking about going viral like within a day of launching, right? Like what happened with my friend. So my question is, like, how do you guys plan on dealing with that paradox? I see some sort of a paradox here where you want to be a smart contract protocol, but then everybody else is like private. Everyone here is private. And what I see, when it comes to the aspect of virality and getting attention on the internet nowadays, the nature of privacy by default is something that
it's private.
It's a hurdle. It's a hurdle because you want to go viral. You want the network to go viral. You want applications to go viral. And people may look at it like, how do I trust this network? They're a bunch of anonymous people. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's almost like it's a paradox. How will you compete? How does Dero plan on competing in a world of hyper virality that's only getting crazier with the Ethereums, the Bitcoin Ordinals?
So
when it's by nature private,
Yeah, I can answer that in two parts. I mean, the first part is I don't see it as necessarily a conflict with a lot of this stuff. It's part of being pragmatic. Dero's more pragmatic than a lot of this other stuff. As far as the people themselves being private and the people involved with the project, I mean, that's kind of I'm sure, you're coming to Nonsensus, you know what's going on. That's part of the reason why we're having an event, because it's not necessarily that we're anonymous people. We're just people who value our privacy. And there's a difference in that, right? I'm not unknown. If you dig around, you can find me. However, I just don't go around posting my face everywhere. You know what I mean? There's just a difference in that. And I think after this event and people coming together and meeting each other, it changes the way that you even interact with people. And I think people will start to realize that, privacy is not anonymity, and for the most part, most people want their privacy for most things.
100%. What I've always told people is privacy for your private life. For everything else, there is the public life, and these public protocols adapt pretty well to that public life, that public space. And so, what's interesting is that Dero brings us a fusion that we've never seen before in crypto, right? Because I have a counter argument to the question that I had, which is look, no one knew about friend.tech. No one knew about base protocol layer 2 in Ethereum 3 weeks before it launched, and yet now it has all the attention of crypto, and just capital's flowing to this. So it's very possible for us to see a killer application that embraces all of the constitutive makeup of Dero and takes it to the level of hypervirality. So I agree with you guys, but there's a very interesting twist in all of this, right? Transparent protocol, I can connect with the world instantaneously without having to add extra to worry about any friction that comes from having privacy to this level, right? Am I wrong in having that perception? Is there that friction due to privacy or not with Dero?
I personally don't, because if you break it down to just the core, before you even get to the smart contract stuff and all that, and you just have a private currency, right? When you have money in your wallet and you go to the store and you buy something, that person at the register doesn't see all the money in your wallet, right? I mean, that basic type of privacy is ingrained in everyone's life anyway. So to say that just because the protocol is private, to me that doesn't mean that there's some sort of hurdle with you know, like getting people to know it. It's just like any other wallet, it's just like any other chain, right? I mean, but the difference is the public go in and see your balance. The public can't go in and find your transactions, and that's really the only real difference. And that's just my opinion. Maybe Silent or Waldo, maybe one of you guys want to jump in on your opinion on that. You know, I'm just one guy.
Awesome. Asylum Waldo. We have secret name and Waldo. B Waldo. How you guys doing? Welcome. Welcome to have you.
Hey, how's it going, man? Yeah, I don't see privacy as abrasive at all. You should want that by default in everything. I guess that's the next hurdle I see for us, is trying to get people to understand how and why exactly they need privacy. And that's something that you got to take back to swing, because when you start having those conversations, you can leave the cryptos out of it. You know, why do you think it should be private when you go to the store and buy personal belongings? You know, do you want the register knowing, or the company knowing that you bought this or that? Well, of course they're going to know that now with the systems that are in place. That's what we need to want to change. And like I said, I'm just gushing here because it's great to be able to speak to you. Like I said, I followed you for a little while before even finding Dero. So thanks for having me on.
It's
My pleasure, man.
You sound less nervous than me, so.
No, dude, that's the thing, man. Is that like, this is what's up, guys? I'm also, obviously I'm a privacy enthusiast, right? And let me tell you guys, the more you do these, you know, public speaking, and I know you guys care about your privacy, so we're going to be doing a lot of for the privacy community, a lot more of this type of ambiance, because you can still have like your privacy and still share it with the world on the biggest network on the planet. So don't be surprised if this conversation goes hyper viral. Now, I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying, don't get nervous. I'm just telling you, like you guys stepping up and representing this beautiful project, you know, means a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, well, to me, it was just, I just more like right off the bat, I just kind of felt like I was in the hot seat. You know, I know that wasn't your intention, but it's just like, you know, I public speaking sometimes, and then someone's like, hey, tell me this about that real quick. And it's just like, you know, it's a little nerve wracking, but I think this is good. If that's what you're planning on doing, is just bringing more people to the conversation. That's the way to go about it.
No, because like the reality is that there's, you know, right now something really huge happened in Bitcoin this past year, right? Like there was a convergence across all of the, within all of transparent smart contract protocols. They all merge into BTC because it is a network that is the metropolis of crypto, right? Has the most capital and people, most attention. So you'd be dumb if you were just sticking with Polygon. You'd be dumb if you were just working on Ethereum. If you are a creator, you ran to BTC because that's where the money is, that's where the attention is, and you, for the first time, had like a NFT on chain, right? You had digital assets arbitraged on chain. But when I look at the privacy sector, I still see that there's a lot of tribalism, and it's almost like the transparent coin sector, like they broke out of that tribalism. Like the tribalism was murdered this past year. It's gone.
Yeah, but looks can be deceiving though. I agree that there is still a ton of tribalism, especially in privacy coins. Don't know what the deal is with that. I have some theories, but don't really want to get into any of them at the moment. But it does seem to be more prevalent in privacy. However, there is a ton of privacy on transparency chains too. I mean, like there's just some people, they pick their coin that their friend told them to buy or whatever, and they just stick with that, and it's that coin or die, you know?
Right on, right on. Waldo, what are your thoughts? Tell us about Dero.
Well, it's really hard to get into something like Dero and not be tribalistic in your mindset, because there's really nothing out there like it. And I guess it's really hard to fathom for people who are into it. And there's thousands and thousands of coins, and they picked one and they've learned everything about it, you know, so they don't care to learn anything else. But if you really get down to the nuts and bolts of Dero, you realize that it's one of a kind. That tribalism just starts to set in. It's like, man, how can they not see it? And not saying that I can truly point to you why it's one of a kind now. I'm still trying to figure out Captain's work every day, but that's my answer to it. Like it's so hard to not be a tribalist here. But we don't have that mentality. Like when you talk to people in the Discord or wherever you talk to them at about Dero, you don't really feel that from the community members. So kudos to you guys for maintaining that tribalistic mindset. But that's where it comes from for me, at least. I'm just so overjoyed that Dero exists and what it's going to do for the future.
It is kind of easy to fall into comparing Dero to other things and saying, well, I prefer this over that and this over that. And then it's just easy to just be like, well, I really just am not a fan of the other stuff. So I see exactly what Waldo's saying with that. So, but at the same time, like he was saying, we've really tried our best as a community as a whole to really not try to ostracize other people or try to attack other people. Obviously, we've been around 5 years. Some things have happened in the past where we've attacked back, but the general vibe of the community, I think, is pretty open.
What's up, secret name? How are you tonight? How are you doing?
Bruh. I'm doing pretty freaking good. I'm kicking it with my bros on the Twitter spaces, on the X spaces. Let's be so surreal about it. In this weird meta space now, where it's not meta because like we're not about that Facebook Mark Zuckerberg life, but we have platforms like X, that has apparently encrypted DMs. So there's obviously some kind of need on a general basis for privacy. It seems very important, at least to large audiences, that communication channels are encrypted. That actually happens to be one of the best reasons for why to get into Dero, is because of the nice encrypted 128 byte encrypted payload that can transfer between wallets. One of the best things that I've learned in the last year is how to make use of that 128 bytes of encrypted data. There's not a single blockchain anywhere that gives you the opportunity to encrypt data to transfer between wallets. There's not a single one. And as a result of that, I was able to build, bashing my head up against ChatGPT and Bash on my CLI terminal, I was able to build a Dero XMR swap that runs out of my wallet. And I open sourced it for everyone to be able to use, because true decentralized finance is not just about decentralized blockchain. It's about decentralized tool sets. When we as people, as audiences come together to be able to work, so sad when you get to hear your son cry because you get to try and explain how exciting it is that Dero exists, that there is a possibility that my child's future won't be analyzed by AI in terms of his financial transactions. To me, that is one of the most exciting things that's out there when it comes to Dero, is that we're able to encrypt data, we're able to encrypt transactions, and as a result, we get privacy that transparent chains don't get to have. Most specifically, if you want to talk about tribalism, talk about people who sit and hover over wallets to see when transfers go in and out of them and watch balances and sit and gossip about it. About 80% of crypto is just people gossiping about balances and transfers. Dero is crypto, but without drama. And it's encrypted, which means we can actually do productive stuff besides just compound useless tokens for meaningless dexes, or more so, just launch another copy pasta chain. We can actually do work. And that's actually one of the best compelling arguments for why you would want to look at Dero seriously beyond just trading zeros and ones between wallet A and wallet B. You can encrypt data and pass it between two parties, and it's cryptographically sealed in such a way that you can prove that someone got it. That to me is of immense value when you're conducting a swap out of your wallet. You need to guarantee that the data that is transferred to the other person is in fact the wallet address that they want it sent to. If anyone can point out a single blockchain that can do even 1/10 of what Dero can do at the speed that it does it at, I'd love to check that project out. But after 2 years of hanging out with Dero, no one's brought me anything that's even close. So that's why I'm excited, Rob. I totally just went, but man, I'm that passionate about it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I challenge everyone out there to find me something better than Dero brings to the world what Dero is bringing to the world. I really do challenge everyone out there. You know, that's the thing, man. It's so easy to criticize and talk shit, and I'm sick of it. You know, there's so much out there, so much FUD, so much BS about people trying amazing things. And by all means, you know, there's a space to for peer review. By all means, there's a space for there's always a space for critique. There's always a space for that. But dude, at the end of the day, if you're not offering something to the market, if you're not proposing something that could be, you know, if you don't have a proposal that could be better, then like by all means, dude, like we don't need to hear it. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, because this is such a magnificent project, because this is such a beautiful network and it offers the world something completely unique, there will be people that are gonna be critical and they're gonna want to look under the hood, and we welcome that. We want that. We want more of that. How's the community regarding that vibe? You know, peer review. Where are we at with that? How's give us a little background as to like the culture of Dero. That's I think very important vibe right there to talk about. You know, the culture. You know, Monero has a culture. Pirate Chain has a culture. BTC has a culture. Tell us about the culture of Dero. For someone that's going into Dero, hearing about it, wanting to jump in, what can they expect from the culture of Dero?
Well, just getting back to what you were saying about peer reviewing, Dero's been peer reviewed extensively, just not in the way that you would normally think. Like we've gone through so many coordinated attacks, attempted exploits, all sorts over the years. It's silly. But as far as like, you know, like publishing some sort of a paper that this was reviewed and this and that, there's, speaking of culture too, there's a culture in some other communities that maybe think themselves better than us, where they just think that, well, if you don't let us do certain things with your technology, then you're bad or something like that, right? Like a real big push to fork a lot back in the like when we first put smart contracts on CryptoNote, I did it. I didn't do anything, but when Captain first put smart contracts on CryptoNote, people were trying to fork that chain in so many ways. It was insane. They were trying to fork the code base and stuff. It has been closed over the years though, and it's been closed to the Dero devs because they're building what they wanted to build. And I think the people who've been around the longest understand that the most is that these are some pretty talented devs and cryptographers, and they're building something for everybody to use. And that's what we let them do. Nowadays, though, you know, Captain's opened up. He's opened up the project and saying, "Hey, if you guys want to start pushing some pull requests to GitHub, and they look good, he's accepting them now." So that part of it is definitely open. I'm not really going to comment on some of the other cultures I see with some other projects, except for I will say that some of those cultures are they're toxic and they're closed-minded and they believe what they believe, and they think if you think anything different, then you're an idiot, and they don't even look into stuff. I just think you know, more power to them, but they're kind of missing out on what could be.
What are the biggest challenges for Dero right now as it gets going?
I'm just going to be 100% honest here, and I think that is right now our user experience, making it easier to use for day-to-day people. But that's the primary focus of most of the people that are working and contributing now, is taking this really cool technology and making it easy to use. It's like Secret said, you could do so much with the technology. It's insane. However, in order to do that, some of this stuff is like command line still. Some of this stuff isn't just download an app, open it, and start using it. But that's all stuff that's being worked on. And I think right now that's one of our biggest challenges. I'm sure somebody else has something to say about what they feel as well. But to me, that's that challenge. But that is such a small hurdle in the grand scheme of what it took to get here that I don't even think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I see a lot of teachers coming out and a lot of teaching going on in the sphere. It's really easy to just go into the Discord, and I'm glad that there's a lot of interaction on Discord. I've seen complaints that, you know, we're privacy focused community, but we use Discord as our messaging system. And, you know, we have Element and or Matrix or what have you too. But the beauty in Discord is when I first landed into the community, I called it the Library of Alexandria, because whatever I needed, I could search it and either somebody's talked about it, or I could get somebody who has and ping them, and they would be more than happy to share that with me. And that information has only evolved over just a couple of years that I've been here. So to find stuff and to work it out is super easy there. And to develop, I think, would be another hurdle for us. People, I guess, aren't used to developing in this language. But from what I learned, I'm actually trying to get into developing myself. It's pretty simple. So if you can keep a simplistic mindset, and I guess the simplicity comes because that's what keeps things secure. It's not too bad. I don't reckon. Sorry.
Oh no, I was interrupting you. It's fine. But yeah, that's kind of what Captain's whole point with using DVM Basic. It's written in Basic because Basic is easy to learn. It's easy to audit. Even if you're not a programmer, you can still kind of get the gist of what's going on when you read Basic. It's not a complicated language. When you get into things like Solidity and stuff, I mean, from what I've heard and what I've seen with Solidity, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare to learn. It's a nightmare to read. And keeping something, the more simple you make a language, the base language, then the easier it is to secure it, and the easier it is to audit it. It's all about security, and it's all about ease of use at the end of the day. However, people said Basic was it's not advanced enough to run a smart contract. Well, what is a smart contract? I mean, what does it really need to do? As long as your front end, you can write your front end in whatever you want. The smart contract itself really doesn't need to do much if you really think about it. People just need to change their approach to developing, and then it actually becomes more simple, in my opinion.
You know, one of the things about Dero is that I have described this so many times, and every time I describe it, it just, and the thing is that it's almost like I lose words, I lose language, I don't know how to communicate about it. It comes to a point where Dero is like, opens the world to such a level of freedom that I don't think we have language for that. And that's kind of like my hardest, like Dero's been my biggest challenge as a communicator, because so like, you know, people say that they act differently when they're being watched. You know, that's like a psychological like reality. I think Michel Foucault,
like a litmus. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Michel Foucault, the philosopher, that tyrannical mind once said that from the panopticon, you can observe other people and that people can't observe you, and that from that eye of Sauron, they can you can rest assured that people change the way that they behave because they know that they're being watched. So it's you know, one of the probably the biggest like philosophical questions that humanity has dealt with throughout millennia has been, is human nature inherently good or inherently evil? And depending on how you answer that question, a lot of your life and politics is shaped by that question, right? The classical liberal, the libertarian, the fathers of the Americas, the fathers of like the French Revolution, their underlying premise was that human nature is good, and we need freedom. We need the right to private property, and we fought for that. We fought many wars for that. And now in this age of technology, we find ourselves faced with the reality that, wait a minute, we are under the panopticon, and there's this entity that we talk about as big tech that governments can use to, you know, surveil our lives. And it's almost like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? Do we need to start from scratch? Because everything that we fought for, all of a sudden, you know, is turn switch tyranny, turn switch, everything just, you know, can change overnight with this technology. And we have people that are addicted to this technology. Most people listening know someone or are themselves addicted to their screens, to the black mirror. And, you know, we are very close to a possible dystopia, unfortunately. And it seems like big tech and the crypto world has become an being a drug pushers of dopamine, right? Dopamine pushers. So, you know, the attention span is very short. People are fighting for attention at all times. And Dero comes in with I don't think that's the initial like vibe that I get from Daryl. Like you guys are not fighting for attention. Like literally getting you guys out to come speak at an X space is interesting because a lot of you guys don't really use this platform. If you guys use it, it's just kind of like a thing that you can have to. So you guys are come from a very different spirit, from a very different mindset, which is very interesting. But we find ourselves, I think the closest thing that we can resemble in a Dero world is that of a pioneer that is living in his homestead, of someone living in complete freedom with nature, and living in voluntary, peaceful relationships with those around him, around her, and so it's almost they talk about a purple cow, right? Something like, whoa, what is that? Well, that's what Dero is. Dero is like this from the crypto world. To me, it's like this alien technology, this freak of nature, something that just had to happen. It had to happen. It's ultimate freedom for the creative. The creative mind tends to be seeks security before it can be creative, right? Like in the Maslow hierarchy of needs, we see that human beings need to satiate that level of security to then be able to be creative. I honestly expect a giant wave of artists to come into Dero, to help us understand Dero better, because it's really hard to explain Dero and to really like dialogue with what Dero is. Am I the only one having these thoughts? I'm pretty sure I'm not.
Well, okay. Well, all things aside, part of what you just said towards the tail end there, actually, like artists, for example, there's something unique about the Dero community. A lot of people who really got involved and really got deep into the community. A lot of these people are, musicians and artists in general, or at least like to toy with it. Like, it does attract a certain type of people, which I do find kind of interesting. I think really what it comes down to, as far as what you're saying with the world and dystopia possibilities and stuff like that, I think that stuff is always something that looms over every generation. But really, it comes down to common sense. There's only so much time you should spend in front of a screen. There's only so much time you should let your kids be sitting in front of a screen. Like, to me, that's just it's common sense. And I think overall, the world is full of people that have common sense, right? I think most people understand that when everything you do is being monitored online, maybe that's not the best thing in the world. It's people are starting to wake up to the fact that you probably shouldn't be monitored for every little tiny thing that you do all the time. So my perspective is, I understand where you're coming from, but my perspective is more, I guess I have more faith in people. I think people understand that, there's lines that, probably shouldn't be crossed in some situations.
Right on. No, and you're 100% right. I mean, I agree with you. You're definitely, libertarian, in that approach. But that there's people listening to this and that will listen to it, and they're like, they feel really uncomfortable with the idea of humanity being free, because in their mindset, their underlying premise is human nature is bad. Human beings cannot be trusted.
Yeah, but I mean, are you really ever gonna stop people from thinking certain ways? I mean, that's their life.
No,
people tend to be self-reflective too. Don't forget that.
What do you mean by that?
Somebody that projects that view of humanity out of themselves onto everybody else is likely to be that way themselves. Are those the people you want running the world?
Of course not. But unfortunately, those are the people that we have. Let's talk about the concept of fear real quick as it relates to Dero. So when people are faced with an uncertain future, and as we see the fear of the internet from all sides of the political spectrum, that makes people very uncertain about the future. And, in Austrian economics, we talk about 3 ways of acting towards an uncertain future. There is that way of the gambler, that person that just gambles, casts lots into the future, doesn't really care, doesn't give it much thought. Then there's the engineer, the person who wants to construct and socially engineer the future. That's tyrannical, right? Obviously. And then there's a person who's more of an investor, a speculator, right? Dero, what is the vibe in the community when it comes to like the uncertainty of the future?
In regards to like the Austrian economic take, or just in regards to their view of the world? I mean, okay, so this is just my personal observation from what I see from everybody in the community, and that is there is all types in this community. There are people in our community that are completely, left wing, whether they're pretending to be or not, completely right wing, whether they're pretending to be or not. There's libertarians, there's, just complete nihilists. I think the general vibe of the Dero community is that everyone's just here together, and it starts getting political when you start thinking about, what's the future. And I don't know, I don't think there's like a political stance that one political stance that everybody like rallies around, other than just privacy is probably important. You should probably be paying attention to this and what's going on around you. Other than that, I don't think there's like an actual I don't think there's just one point of view. There's too many people with too many types. Like I said, like we were saying before, and Will was saying before, it's a pretty inclusive community. So any point of view you want to find, you could probably find it with someone in the community.
Right on. You're right. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it's complete freedom, it really is.
Yeah, me personally, I don't like to take, too strong a stance on most things, just because when you take a really strong stance, especially nowadays, whether or not somebody just wants to argue with you, they keep arguing, or they just are in their own little world. When you take a really strong stance on almost anything in a public way, you're just inviting toxicity and arguments, and it's not a productive way of going about interacting with the world.
I'll just add on that. I would say that the primary characteristic of the Dero community that I see the most, at least in my daily dealings with everybody, is the drive and desire to build. And
yeah,
I think that's indicative of the artist type people that we attract, or that it attracts.
Yeah, there is that weird vein of artists. Oh no, I was just agreeing with Asylum. There is a weird vein of artists, and I don't mean weird in a bad way. I mean all artists are weird, but a lot of the people that seem to be attracted to the project are creatives. It's kind of cool.
I see we have a new man up on stage, a new person. What up, TL? How you doing tonight?
Great, thank you for having me. I wanted to speak of the Dero community because I have my own perspective on it, and like Crypto had said, it's very inclusive, and there are a lot of builders, and there are a lot of artists, creative people, but we also have a lot of crypto OGs, like people who get crypto, and I think this is a very important aspect of Dero, because I've seen there are people that do all sorts of plays, like I don't want to call them traders, but people that deal with all sorts of projects, and we learn stuff, we learn why decentralization matters, we learn why transparency matters, and then at some point you learn you might want some privacy, because for example, when dealing with these transparent chains, you at some point you feel people chasing you, it's like you are trading, and then people get mad because you sold, and then you realize that at some point maybe we also need privacy, and then you understand why you need smart contracts, because we have done all sorts of trading shitcoins from low cap, like a lot of us this game, we ride them up to a certain point and then we sell. There is more, and you realize that the peer-to-peer dimension can take something up to a certain point, but to see deeper engagements, to see applications, to see an ecosystem thrive. And the ecosystem is important because it provides incentives for much deeper engagement, because you have dApps, you have tokens, you become part, like you have an entirely new economy inside the economy of the layer. And this is even more, gives it much more verticality, much more scale in terms of growth. So in this sense, there is this side of the Dero community which maybe falls in some sort of blind spot, but I haven't seen these people anywhere else. so many of them concentrated as in Dero. Like you have really a lot of people who get crypto, and I mean these people who have seen, I mean who have been here from the start maybe and have seen all sorts of cycles, all sorts of trends come and go, and they are all rooting for Dero because they realize that all roads lead to Dero, because at some point you need privacy, you want unbreakable privacy, you want, as I like to tweet often, like NSA proof privacy. I mean, not because but because if NSA cannot break it, then nobody can, no matter how resourceful, etc. Because it's a mathematically guaranteed privacy. Because end of the day, you want this privacy. It's where you go sit and rest, you know, before your next play. You want somewhere you can collect. You want that intimate place, space where you just plan, I don't know, your trades, your life, your strategies, your business and stuff. And this is why privacy is so important at the end of the day. And you see this, I mean, a lot of us who maybe leaving crypto like 24/7, maybe spending too much of our times in front of our screens, etc. But this is, I mean, there is a whole breed of people that crypto has created, and these people, a lot of these people are in there because, again, we with time, by going from project to project, you really learn the importance of privacy and smart contracts with privacy, because peer-to-peer cash privacy is important, but it's not enough, unfortunately, because you need new fuel to propel the network effect, and that's why you need smart contract creators, like we are already seeing in Dero, and to engage developers and then users in the end, and of course also speculators. So this is a very important piece of the puzzle, I think. Like it's like a glue that brings all the parts together and creates a lot of synergy.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. No, you're 100% right. It's almost like Dero leaves me speechless. Happens to me all the time every time I talk about Dero, because there's so much to it. There's it means so much. You know, I always tell people, you know, you got privacy coins for your private life, you know, however you may need it in your personal life, and then you have, you know, public blockchains for your public life, like we're here on Twitter, right? To reach the masses, to go viral, to share ideas, to connect with the world. Cool. But like Dero has a potential of giving us both at the same time. And that just like blows my mind, because it gives you total privacy from the jump.
Actually, on that, I don't want to put Asylum on the spot, but he actually kind of has some really good points on that, about how when you maintain your privacy in the areas that you need it as like a human, it kind of allows you to be human again. It allows you to be, you know, public in a way, without like think about how many people like just stopped using Facebook at some point, and they did that because and I mean not just privacy maximalists, like regular people were just like, you know what, I'm done with this huge amount of public information about me and these companies scraping it and stuff. But when you add a layer of privacy to it, it kind of allows us back to, don't really want to be too nostalgic, but you know, like back to the early days of the internet, where people felt like they could just be themselves and not worry about, you know, the repercussions of saying something that maybe a few people didn't agree with and getting canceled or something, right? There's actually a deep amount of freedom. Being private gives you freedom, but being private also kind of isolates people. When you add that layer of being able to be public while maintaining because you know, privacy is what you want to keep private, right? It's not necessarily something you're trying to hide. It's just maybe your social security number shouldn't be public, right? Stuff like that. So that freedom comes from the freedom to be yourself again. Is kind of, I think, something that there's a large amount of people in this world that probably would appreciate.
That's amazing. Freedom to be yourself again. Woo! That's heavy, right, bro, but it's so true. Wow, it's so beautiful, man. Amazing.
And I totally stole that from Asylum, so don't give me credit.
What's up, Asylum?
You know, Nonsensus wouldn't be happening if Dero didn't exist, for more than one reason. Why would you want to have a big event, go out there and tell the whole world they can all be free, and they can't help themselves or hide what they want to hide, or keep what they want safe? So just adding on to that, being human again is kind of a breath of air for the entire world, whether they know that yet or not.
So do you guys envision a world where all privacy projects and privacy protocols, including hardware manufacturers like Prism, all eventually converge around Dero?
I don't think it matters. Everything is developed in relation to society, you know. So if something surfaces as a threat, well, then people respond to that. That's the whole point of decentralization. You're not trusting a single entity to take care of an entire world, which is a ridiculous concept.
Yeah, and
So,
also, I mean, like the way the blockchain was built, it's with observation in mind. So this goes back to the homomorphic encryption, right? If all the data on the blockchain is already encrypted, and then the blockchain, the consensus is done on encrypted data, there's nothing to watch. So as far as things like I think I'm getting at with like Prism and like, you know, like exploits and stuff like that, and like things that have been done in the past to like create mass surveillance. It was created with mass surveillance in mind. So all that kind of stuff is inconsequential.
consider that the threshold of breaking the privacy of Dero is at the same level as cracking every single private key in existence on all blockchains that were ever made.
But the
All right,
devs are
let's
trying to
look
make,
at
but the devs are working on making it better. So that's
please explain what the heck level of encryption we're dealing with here.
You got to understand the contents of your wallet are encrypted by your private key. So in order to break the encryption of the entire Dero ledger, you would have to crack the private keys of all accounts in existence, which means you would also have the same capability to break every single blockchain that exists at the exact same time.
which is
So-
also why the only thing the devs are really focused on right now is quantum resistance, because quantum computing is the only thing that really poses any sort of threat to that type of encryption.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. So wow. So it would have to decrypt every single Dero wallet at the same time. Wow. So where are we at in that process of quantum resistance?
Yeah, not only every Dero wallet, the capability to what you just said is the same capability to destroy blockchain and all encryption on the internet. So
Yeah, it would.
pretty high level of privacy, right?
Yeah, it would immediately kill Bitcoin, right? I mean, if you have every private key, then you have every Bitcoin. So it's done. It's over with.
I can't really speak much to what Amazon is doing as far as quantum computing, but to my knowledge, quantum computers exist as a single shot query device. So what you would do is you would take a computer and put it under vacuum, and you would give that computer a query, and underneath the vacuum, it would give you results of your query, and that is only 80% accurate. So I guess how we're going into Dero community on the quantum resistance is up to Captain, and I think the quantum people are still trying to figure out how they're going. So he's always a step ahead. I'm sure he's got that one working it out.
Yeah, the cryptographers that work with Captain or as Captain, however you want to put it, are pretty next level. And yeah, the way quantum computers basically work is you give them a problem, and they assume every possibility at once and give you an answer. So yeah, so that type of technology is literally, I mean, like, governments develop that type of project literally just to break encryption. I mean, I don't see any other, like, I mean, obviously there's probably some other practical uses for it, but that's like the arms race of it, right? The arms race of quantum computing is to break encryption. That's what it's made for, you know?
Yeah. So we're all united in that effort, huh? If you really think about it, everyone in crypto is united in that effort of being quantum resistant. So I think I take a lot of comfort in knowing that everybody has the same aligned incentive. Great to know.
You know, one shot of recognition wins the whole world round, right?
Yeah, one step at a time, guys. One step at a time. So what geeks you guys out the most about Dero?
Hey, I'll take this one, and you can check more onto this at Nons because it's the topic of my discussion. I really love the mining on the Dero network. When I first stepped into the game, it was such a hassle because I'm a tinkerer miner. You know, I'll throw my old laptops and try to earn here and there, and it was such a pain to hook up to a pool, and give all my information to this pool or that pool or the third. Sigma Miner was introduced and it changed everything. Everything is a pool now. So you get on with your old mining laptops or your old phones if you can still do it and point it at the network. You don't have to worry about all of the extra steps. You get right to it, and it's a level playing field. The network is hash rate is pretty low right now, so even my small miners will find a mini block a week. So I love the mining aspect of it. I'm going to really get to flesh out the different tweaks and changes to it, hopefully at nines. But as a geek, that's what won me over.
I have to
And
say,
to me,
my favorite part of Dero is the fact that it's all still command line.
yeah, but that's not the best thing in the world. It is fun though. I actually want to touch on something that Tech Leaks was talking about, and to me, it's just that being in crypto long enough, you see all these problems, all these things going on. There's all these different chains, how it actually all works. There's a bunch of forks out there for no reason. My favorite thing about it was that it was just, hey, we're gonna fix these problems, and we're not gonna just fork it from somewhere else. We're actually gonna start rebuilding it, and we're gonna build something new. And it was, yeah, I fell in love a long time ago with Dero. Obviously, I've been around since a couple weeks after it was incepted. I kind of ended up being a moderator against my will, but that's a long story. But but yeah, my favorite part is just that it's all the things I love about crypto wrapped into one.
Yeah, being a moderator of a crypto community is probably one of the most important things. So man, thank you for doing that. That's so important, man. There was a guy in the Monero community. I forget his name. I think it was really cool dude. He was a moderator. He was like the moderator for Monero for many years, and maybe he still is. I forget his name
Justin.
again. Oh no, he had
something earlier.
no, he had another name. It was really funny, dude. But yeah, man, it's and his full-time job was literally that of being a moderator. Like literally, that's all he did was moderate all of the forums, everything having to do with Monero, which I think is pretty cool. Like that, like that's his like one thing. So for anyone out there that's a moderator, or if they're thinking about how they can be part of a network, like know that this is a very, very important position of trust that people need. And so thank you for doing that, Crypto. I really appreciate you doing that.
I can only say about that person is that I'm jealous because for the entire time I've worked with the project and been on the team and everything, I've had a full-time job the whole time on top of it. So it must be nice to be able to just be full-time moderator. That would have made things a lot less complicated.
Oh yeah, I remember his name. So homie's name is Need Money 90. Shout out to Need Money 90.
Oh, like how high? I need money.
Well, that's his.
Or am I showing my?
Yeah, maybe that's where he got it from.
Maybe I'm showing my age.
All right, guys, but look, I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna throw a curveball, right? So you guys just mentioned, oh my gosh, command line is so great. The vast majority of the world are not crypto Jedi Knights. The vast majority of the world are on the masses are pretty herpaderp when it comes to high level shit. So how will Dero cater to that world? The world that to be honest, guys, that's where all the masses are. The masses are NPCs. So how are you going to cater to the NPC? How are you going to bring the NPCs? How are you going to hack the mind into Dero?
NPCs. I mean, those are people like my family members.
To some degree or another, right?
Yeah, no, I get you.
Different topics, yeah.
But yeah, so the thing with Dero is it took a long time to do this base protocol. I mean, it doesn't just do amazing things and then it's super easy to use. Things take time, and then on top of that, with the protocol changing, RPCs changing, stuff like that, even the GUIs and the UIs, I mean, they had to be redone. But yeah, that's a top priority of making things easier for everybody to use, and making it simple. So, you know, like even Bitcoin on the back end, it's easy to use now, but at one point it was not. And that's just kind of where we're at right now.
To add to that, the extended period that we've had with Dero on command line only, well, for the majority of stuff, I would say really stuck it to the community to step up their game and learn how things actually work underneath of it all. And that turned into such a huge boom in baseline knowledge of and understanding about the protocol that just about every other project out there does not have in their community. And that's something that we shouldn't take for granted, I don't think.
Yeah, actually, new community members coming in, and then like teaching them how. Like I've on more than one occasion taught people how to open up terminal to use command line, taught them how to navigate folders to get to the right and run commands. Not only was that gratifying in one way that you know, I taught somebody something, but to them it was also like, wow, I feel like a wizard now. Like, so this is what happens in the background. So yeah, I mean, obviously command line isn't the way to go forever, but it has been kind of fun. I see where Sam's coming from.
Right on. But like, you know, like the masses they barely, you know, they want something simple. They're dazzled by new, you know, and they have this, they want to be part of a liquid network, especially if it revolves with crypto. The masses, the last thing they care about is a privacy itself. Like, you know, they don't, the one thing they want to be part of this world of crypto where we're all in this asymmetric effort where we're all going to the moon, right? First and foremost. Second, they want something easy to use, and third, they want something that is new, something that catches the attention in the highly, you know, hyper competitive attention market. So, what's y'all's take on that approach? How are you guys going to tackle that aspect of the market? What's the vibe? What's the mindset to tackle that?
I mean, I sound like a broken record, but I mean, really, what it comes down to is when I say things like UX and UI.
Add on to what I said there a minute ago. When you target the high level market right off the bat, you introduce so many unknowns into your platform that end up being exploits, that end up killing projects, just tearing people apart. And you got to remember that people get their investments tied up in this stuff, and the entire crypto industry is in beta. It's not something that's solved, and to think that the high level tools available to the market on other platforms in comparison to what you see on Dero at this second are serving them in a secure and safe manner, that's a very misguided view. And it's very unfortunate that most people out there don't even know that in the first place. And this is something that we keep in mind. I would say pretty much it's a guiding thought in the back of our heads in everything that we do. When we pick a development path for building, like let's say a mobile wallet, like Ngram, for example, it's been, the idea of Ngram has been turned over in our heads probably 1 million times over the last year while we've been playing with and testing the original alpha or pre-alpha release, and that extended time studying the dynamics and the tools and the way things are used and the characteristics of the network. Oh, these are things that most tools that the public use out there don't have that knowledge backing them, and that's something that we don't want the users that use Dero to have to experience. So I think maybe it's a little bit underappreciated that people take their time building what they're building in Dero, and I don't devalue that, because that may just be what saves people's lives down the road.
Right on. That's awesome. But this is the thing, Asylum, is that we live in a world that moves extremely fast. And so what people are beginning to, I'll just give you a reference from like the transparent protocols, smart contract protocols. What people are realizing is that you have to have a stable protocol so that builders can build up on with ease. And those builders, since they're testing the market in real time, and like I said, for some of them, a week in the market is a long ass time. If their project doesn't catch fire within a week, they have to move on to the next. So in reality, people, what they're looking for is to build not something that's completely holistic, but something that has, at the very least, marginal utility. Some utility, something of fun, something that just pushes the envelope forward to create more attention, more liquidity, more fun, right? It's that constant like upward spiral of positive feedback, right?
Yeah, I mean those things are coming. Nobody's saying that isn't something that we want, and that obviously is what we want. We want to get there in a way that doesn't require 10 steps back for every 20 we take forward. And the other thing is you got to keep in mind that this attention addiction that you're referring to here, that most people have, is not going to serve them well into their futures. So these are a lot of lessons that I would say the majority of tech users out there these days are going to learn over the next few years, and have to make personal backtracking in their own lives to adjust to what they skipped over for ease of use in the first place. And I don't think catering to that insane tip of the spear of the market, in the sense of trying to give them things that are easy and pretty and flashy right off the bat to compete with the attention space that you're talking about. I don't think making that the primary goal is very wise at all, because all you're doing is hurting people even more. So this is what I was trying to get at earlier there.
Oh, if I may piggyback off of what Asylum's saying, I find, so you know, in some ways, Ralph, you're correct that there is like this high energy that creates network effects, and those network effects can directly help your anonymity set and attract devs and all these things. And yet we also have huge catastrophic failures of like Terra Luna and you know, like the stupid smart contract exploitations. Like just this week, Mark Cuban lost a lot of money again because of basically UX problems that should have never been there, but because everything was moving so fast, it just gets glossed over. So there's the mathematician Blaise Pascal. He said we must talk like other people, but we mustn't think like them. And I think that applies a little bit to this Dero privacy space, because I think a lot of people are actually sadly turned off of privacy, but it's exactly what they need, and they don't know it. And the reason why we're in such a position we are in the world is because everybody needs privacy and almost nobody knows it. And so the deck is actually stacked against Dero. And I think Dero is actually one of the only products that could surmount that big of a deck being stacked against it. You know, in some ways, we have a layer one protocol that, if you took away privacy, is still absolutely desirable. And even though privacy is kind of like the central core of Dero, it's still way faster than most of the top 10. It's still got a lot of other security aspects and a lot of unique aspects. So like, I'm here for the privacy space because I think Asylum, he put it the best. People's lives are absolutely at stake, not just their balances, but like persecuted peoples, people that are hunted. They need a place where they can buy food, you know, where they can buy a passport because, you know, people are coming after them, you know, wars, things like that. These things are so important. And I see 99% of the personalities and pushers in the crypto space, like basically just joking around with gags. These things are not important to most of the people, but it's the whole reason why, you know, Bitcoin exists. It's the whole reason why cypherpunks tattooed stuff on their bodies. So I don't know. I am constantly flabbergasted at the people that have been in the space for several years that are not 100% privacy advocates. It's amazing to me. You know, the fact that, you know, BitBoy Crypto is still, I don't know, talking about anything on Uniswap. Like, and, you know, just pick any name, just about. There's very, very few people that understand where this has come from, where the cypherpunk movement, where Bitcoin has come from, and even, you know, very few people that understand where we're going with it. And a lot of people are getting caught off guard. And there's a lot of projects that I don't know very much. I'm a cartoon raptor. I am not a programmer. I'm not a developer. I'm just an artist that likes to read. And yet there's lots of projects that I walked away from because I'm like, no, the foundation's going to implode in this way or that. And I was, lo and behold, with me being code illiterate almost, I was able to predict those things. That comes from just a perspective. Anyway, sorry, I didn't want to take up too much time, but
no, dude, you're
yeah.
awesome. Keep going.
So I don't know. I've kind of been I put up a lot of ads and I don't know, I get spam on Twitter, just trying to experiment with what grabs people's attention. And I realized that a lot of the things that I have designed are only for people that, one, already know about things like the Federal Reserve, two, already know things about the cypherpunk movement. And that's a very narrow group of people. Whereas if I'm going to try and talk to my neighbor about this, there's a hard way and the easy way. The hard way is going to be like, hey, have you read, Creature from Jackal Island? And, hey, look at the cypherpunk. The easy way is like, Dero is everything that crypto promises to be but isn't. That is what this does. It is your sovereign money, and it's a sovereign marketplace that cannot be co-opted by anything. So like that's kind of its use case. Like, people that are big in other privacy coins, I actually really support them. I am really encouraged that people like that. But if you don't, when you have the market, as more and more persecution comes, more and more of your market is going to have to move on chain to maintain its safety and its relevance. So, for instance, like my mom, she sells purses on eBay. Well, they've done a lot of stuff on eBay to make that actually really hard for little tiny shoppers. Where is she going to go? She could sell for like Monero, but Monero isn't also protecting it's not protecting the websites. It's not protecting the front end. It's not protecting the infrastructure around the purchase. It's just securing the transaction. So kind of my thesis is like anything that is not private is worthless to me, and anything that is not able to sustain on-chain marketplaces is not going to have as strong of a future I think we need to have success. Anyway, I yield my time. Thank you, guys.
No, you're awesome, dude. You're here to talk, to be free and share your ideas, man. This is amazing. This is what we need when we talk about these things. This is what matters most.
One of the things that I think would be really useful for Dero is to use and build some sort of an unstoppable domain type of system, a secured system where we have domains that nobody is censorship proof, that people can build off of. And from what I understand, working with Apollo and talking to some of the people that are developing on Dero, this is entirely possible. And I think that's very hopeful for the future.
So we got someone new up here. Quest for Crypto. How are you doing tonight, sir or ma'am?
I'm good, man.
So, do you have any questions for the people up here on the channel?
Is like the DNS system. Like, well, what happens when they turn off the internet in your country? So, yeah, I'm really curious to see what people build in that regard.
Hey, Cryptoid, I think we missed everything you said. I think you're rugging, brother. So maybe if you want to repeat everything you said again, that'd be great, because I think you were talking and we weren't hearing you.
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, yes, but you just came in as I was asking a question, and it seemed like you were in the middle of a sentence.
Oh, no. To be honest, I was just going to chime in on whatever was being said
I
at the
don't know
time.
what's going on there, but I can comment a little bit on that.
Yeah.
So we got, on Dero, you do realize that you can post all kinds of arbitrary data to smart contracts, which are publicly visible to the world, right? Through a node. So you could do all kinds of routing tricks and build infrastructure based on that data if you wanted to. It's not hard at all. That's like extremely easy to do. Almost as easy as writing a text file with an IP address in it.
Yeah, and so to me, that's really interesting. So I've been following Dero since, I don't know, probably good 2 or 3 years now. And I got rid of all of my surveillance chain crypto in 2017. I bought Bitcoin first in about 2012. So I've been an observer and an investor, but also just the understanding, the underlying ethos behind it. It's not, for me, the technology or looking to make tons of money, but it's really just to be able to retain our rights to privacy, to rights of our own money that nobody else controls. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of Dero for myself.
keep in mind, it's not just money. You also gain back the control of the direction and flow of your own information. So think about it like this. So if you say something on the internet in 99% of the internet space, there's nothing really guaranteeing you that the representation of what you just said comes out the same way as the way you typed it. On Dero, that that it's inalterable. Only you can change what you own. Say you own a contract, only you can post to it if you write it that way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a different way of thinking about a lot of stuff on the internet. Like you can even use it for like address hooks, for example. Like there's a username contract where you can register a name, so you can use that as a forwarding address on the network. So for example, you can open any Dero wallet and send a message to Asylum as the address, and I get it. Only I
Mm-hmm.
get it. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
I can have a service plugged into that wallet that picked up a specific piece of text that was in the message that you sent me, and you as a trigger to post up something on a contract, for example, that is now publicly visible to the world. So in what I'm describing is if you knew that if you send a specific message to Asylum, that something would happen on a specific contract somewhere on the blockchain, you can affect that change and broadcast that information with zero connection to you, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, and
That's
that's a
something.
great thing. That's a great feature to have. And I just registered probably 10 different names on the Dero NFT site once I found out about that naming service. So you could send crypto to just a name, and you don't have to paste the entire wallet address. I think that was really awesome.
Yeah, it just makes like Xylem was a robot on the Dero network that you send an IP address to, that you have a bunch of web servers checking a specific contract or requesting a specific contract data from a node on your network, and you want to change 10 websites at the same time, make them all forward to a new IP address. You could actually do that by having an address set up that you can send a secure message to and reroute a whole bunch of machines all over the world if you wanted to. Like, I don't think it's not the same sort of function that you're thinking of as DNS, but I'm not sure that
It's
conventional
it's. I don't know if anybody can hear
conventional
me.
protocols are even required to be changed
We
or
hear you.
integrated to affect the thing that you're trying to figure
So
out. You know,
in essence, all DNS is the lookup of a name versus an address. So in essence, it is DNS. And human readable addresses
I
are
don't know if that
something
makes
that
sense to you, but
other projects are
the more you
are
play around with it,
striving
the more
for.
you'll see how easy it is to do silly little things like that.
Xylem can't hear anybody else talking, I don't think.
All right,
Yeah,
guys,
well,
look,
he's
Crypto,
kind of
make
deaf.
sure, no, Crypto, make sure you're not rugging. I'm sorry, Asylum, what were you saying? All right, Crypto, I'm sorry, Crypto, you were saying?
Yeah, sorry, I guess I was talking over him. But all I was really getting at was that the human readable address is it works essentially just like DNS does. It takes a name and it maps it to an address. That's what DNS does.
Something's up with this machine.
Yeah, we can hear you, Asylum. We can hear you.
Yeah, so I think that that just like sparked a light bulb in my head, because there's a lot of like as I was explaining too, there's a lot of different applicability for that. I'm curious to know when large organizations are going to get wind of Dero and the applicability and usability of the blockchain for their services and features. I think there's a lot of places and groups that would utilize privacy and would want to have that as a valuable tool that they could use for their network or for their businesses. I'm curious to know if there are any businesses that have reached out to the Dero Foundation and inquired about utilizing the blockchain.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. This is a very new project, guys. And because of this, can you guys hear me good? Just making sure.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna, this is a new project, guys. This is the beginning of a very long conversation. It's gonna happen often. And, we're just barely, introducing Dero on this one. Guess what? We're having another one on Sunday. Sunday, exactly. Let me give you guys the time. And then we'll have more because this is a very important topic, guys. So it's at Sunday, September 24th at 12 p.m. Mountain. That's 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. So at 2 p.m. Eastern, we're having another conversation where we're going to go deeper. Here, we kind of just wanted to introduce you guys to the expectatives. I honestly think that this is going to be like, look, guys, I honestly expect this. I know that this is going to happen. There's going to be a Dero space happening every day. And I'm very sure that this is going to happen sooner than we all expect. Because the more the convergence happens around Dero, it's going to happen. People like the new shiny object, right? The convergence is going to happen, and people are going to rush to Dero, and there's going to be spaces on Dero and different initiatives within Dero constantly. So we're just kicking this snowball off the mountain right now, guys. That's really what we started today. Before we leave, this is going to probably answering this question on behalf of you guys may take the rest of the hour, and that's okay. I separated two hours for this conversation, and the question is this: what are the top 3 biggest critiques regarding Dero? And how would you answer them? And what way are they misconceptions? Top 3, please. Critiques about Dero, the project. And any of you guys can answer the question.
Well, the one that I often see is the mention of a white paper. And the community actually got together maybe a week ago and actually went to try to piece together a community version of one. But that whole topic in and of itself is just a rabbit hole, especially when it comes to technology like Dero. It's always evolving. It's always moving forward. So to try and get an official white paper from the devs is a lot to ask for. And to put it together as a community, it's just going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. Because the standards that people like to hold white papers to, we don't just have PhDs lying around in our in our inboxes, so it's going to be a lot of work to address that, but it's something that I see people mention a lot. And I've tried to look at Bitcoin's white paper to try to get a reference when I was given a hack at this, and that was so simple, as far as what it did and what they were trying to do with it. And to compare that to now, so where cryptography has landed, it's just a whole can of worms, and people should really try to fathom that's, unless they want to come in and try to piece this together with us, it's going to be a process trying to get that in an official way. But that's just one of the things that I've seen recently too, but it's been mentioned multiple times in and out of the community.
All right, so we got one down. What's number 2? Number 2 biggest critique regarding Dero, and how would you answer it?
I'd say crypto actually already touched on this, but I think that adoption will live or die based off of UX and UI. And that's something that I think a lot of people are aware of. I've been even trying to learn UI tools to help out. But we may want to start, pooling together resources for some really professional looking UI developers just to make, because I don't know, it's like people are trained to see what's a good fruit and what's a rotten fruit. That's a good apple, that's a bad apple. And so we're very, very visually geared creatures. And so we don't see the underlying encryption and the quality thereof. We judge it strictly based off of how shiny the website looks, how slick the buttons are animated, and the color scheme, just like we're judging fruits. And that's most people. That's not obviously everyone. Anyone that's in here using client, I think they're the exception to that. But as an artist, I kind of like a nerdy artist, I kind of straddle those worlds. And so I think that's something that we really have to take very, very seriously. Like, we need to look better than everything else out there. And how can we come together for that?
Right on, right on. That was awesome. And what's
we have,
number three? What's number three, guys?
before you move on, we do happen to have probably the best designer on the planet in this call, by the way.
For real? Please put me on. Who's
I
that?
saw that.
Eric Jordan, right there. Say hi, guys.
Oh, what's up, Eric? Awesome, dude. Yeah, I see we're following Eric. Tell me a little bit about Eric. Why you bring him up? Why is he so special? Is he doing something awesome for Dero? What's going on?
Well, that's a funny story. He did brand Dero, and a lot of us, I would say, millennial artists in our late 30s, been watching Eric Jordan's work since the early 2000s. He's kind of been all over the internet. He's pretty notorious. Check out his work if you don't believe me.
Yeah, I just took a glance at it, man. It looks pretty base. Looks beautiful. Looks very Dero. Man, so we're having a space on this coming Sunday, where we're going to talk about Dero some more. Eric, you're more than welcome to jump on. We start at 2 p.m. Eastern. Love to have you. Anyone else that's here on the audience is welcome to jump on as well. Awesome. Thank you for putting me on to Eric Asylum. I really appreciate that. So what's the third biggest critique that you guys have had to deal with regarding Dero? And I'm asking for three because I'm really getting you guys to really dig deep. Third biggest critique or FUD. It could be FUD. That it's like big misconception regarding Dero. What is it? Can you guys hear me?
The things I think of is like people talk about the pre-mine and how the pre-mine went down for Dero.
All right, please explain about the pre-mine. Shed some light.
I'll answer that with the question. If you're going to build a tool that gets injected into a thick society that's on the brink of collapse, that would be targeted by just about anybody in the world that doesn't want it to exist, how do you expect it to fund itself?
That's a great question. Yeah, even with yeah, I mean, you can answer that in many ways. The fact is that it did happen in Dero. At the Crypto Vigilante, we personally, we're not 100% fans of pre-mines, but we understand why it does happen. Every project is different, guys. Every community is different. And, as long as people are honest about it, and if you look at Bitcoin itself, like Bitcoin, the block reward subsidy within Bitcoin is to also jumpstart the Bitcoin economy. Because I think Satoshi knew that Bitcoin and the power that it brings doesn't, it's not going to be fed from outside itself. It has to have a fuel from within itself. So no, I completely understand your question that you use as an answer to Asylum, and I thank you for it because it makes a lot of sense. This is very subversive, and it just makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that it happened the way it did. I don't see anything wrong with it. If you don't like it, you can start your own Dero competing project that doesn't have a pre-mine, and and I'll be paying attention. Just tell me about it, right? Guys, I think as a floor for the last 10 minutes, what message would you want the world to know regarding Dero? You guys are very passionate about the project. You guys are here. You guys are making time to talk about it. What's your message?
Well, I'll start with mine. I know you mentioned earlier the question of morality existing or not, and I think that integrity in and of itself can't exist without privacy, and Dero provides that privacy for human beings to be integral again. And that's a strong thing. Yeah, you get the chance to be a good person or a bad person, and it be your decision and totally uninfluenced by the repercussions of someone else finding out. So humanity's test is totally here, and through Dero we can pass it. So that would be what I left with.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Cryptoid.
Good thing to say is the world that I want to live in doesn't exist yet, and we have to be the ones to build it. So I'm not a developer. I haven't programmed in 20 years, but I'm back in learning APIs. I'm learning Linux again. I'm learning programming languages, Rust and Go and all this other stuff, because I want to live in a world where my family, my progeny, will be able to have a fighting chance in a world that's private, and that world doesn't exist yet. So if I have to be the one to build it, then so be it. I'm going to be the one, and I'm going to work on building it in Dero.
Thank you. Kalina, you just came up. What's your message to the world?
Actually, my message is just to you guys. I just want to tell you guys how thankful I am that everybody spoke tonight. You all spoke so beautifully. And this is exactly what I've been hoping ever since I joined Dero. I was listening to everything that I could listen to possibly to learn about Dero. And this was what I've been craving for so long. I hope that everybody continues to come on or in any way and talk, because I think we've all learned so much. And I want to learn more. So thank you guys for taking the risk and the time to share.
Thank you, Kalina. Who's up next with their parting words of wisdom? Going once, going twice. All right. Well, I'll see you guys Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, guys. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for talking to us. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for going out of your way and making Dero a possibility for everyone. On behalf of everyone that's gonna very much be using Dero in the future, thank you for all your hard work. And as always, guys, peace, love, anarchy.